Alright, so I got the remote control and I got the battery and it's still not working. So, sorry guys, I'm going to walk into the scene. So, I'm on my lunch break for work and I haven't broken my fast yet this morning. I did stop at Chick-fil-A and get some iced tea, but that's about it. So, I am ravenous. So, I'm going to make something that I love and some of my friends absolutely love. I'm going to make a fathead pizza for lunch and probably dinner, and I'm going to use that same dough. I'm going to save a little bit of it to make a sweet treat. So I've got all my ingredients gathered. I've got 8 ounces of shredded mozzarella cheese. It's important that you use the packaged shredded because it has the binder that we're going to need. And I just realized this says it's the Italian blend, so let me get my shredded mozzarella. Okay. Sorry about that. That one is for when I want to do just strictly a pizza, but since I'm making, got the wrong cheese again. Since I'm making fathead, I want the shredded. And let's see, I have the Parmesan set. I do. Okay. So again, sorry about that. I'm using the mozzarella, the 8 ounce pre-packaged, because it has the binder in it that you need for making of the crust. So this is an 8 ounce bag of mozzarella, entire bag. Into this huge bowl, I'm going to add 2 ounces of cream cheese. Use whatever, don't use the whipped, use the regular block cream cheese, whatever brand you prefer. And I've got an egg I'm going to add in, but first I'm going to stick this in the microwave for 1 minute 30 seconds. And while that's being microwaved, I've got my oven preheating at 375 because that's what I'm going to bake these 2 things at. And I'm going to go over the rest of the ingredients. So I am in this recipe using the jarred Parmesan. I'm using almond flour. I just buy the smaller 1 pound bags from Bob's Red Mill, my favorite, and it's the extra fine or super fine. I don't use it a lot, so I don't like to keep it around because it can go rancid. I do keep it in the refrigerator once it's open. This will make 4 pizzas for me. I'm using spray olive oil, and I'll show you why. I'm using onion and garlic powder. I've got some of my homemade marinara sauce. It's about a cup that we're going to use as the sauce for the pizza. I've got some extra flavor that I'm going to add to the cheese. On top is Munster cheese. I've got pepperoni and I've got ham that I'm going to dice up and put on my pizza because that's what I feel like today. In the freezer I've got some peppers and onions and stuff that I could easily brown up. Don't want to take the time to do it. So I'm just going to have the pepperoni and ham. And I've got 1 egg, which we're going to add to our dough in just a minute. So it's about ready. We're going to check it. Got 14 seconds. Yeah, it looks good. So you can see it melted down. We're going to stir it really, really well to get the cream cheese blended into the mozzarella cheese. So I stopped it with 14 seconds to go. Again, everyone's microwave is different, and I'm still getting used to this one. So it is a lot higher powered than the one I used to have in the condo. So I don't want this to cook the egg, so I'm stirring it really hard to get it to cool down a bit so it doesn't cook my egg. While it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and add, and I don't measure on this recipe, I'm going to add what is the equivalent to a 1/4 cup of Parmesan, and then I'm going to scoop out, or put in, sorry, scoop out, I'm going to sprinkle in about a 1/2 cup. I know the fathead recipe online calls for 3/4 cup, but since I switch out a 1/4 cup of that with Parmesan to give it a little more flavor on the crust. I always move the ingredients to the right as I'm cooking, if I don't put them away instantly, so that they're out of my way and I know that I've added them. I'm going to add my garlic powder, and that's to taste. That's, to me, it's about a teaspoon. And onion powder, I'm going to add about a 1/2 teaspoon. It comes out a lot faster. And now I'm going to go ahead and crack my egg, stick it in there. Okay, goes in the garbage disposal. We're going to stir all of this up. One of the things with fathead dough is once you get it to like doughy state, is to keep your hands well oiled or well watered when you're working with it, once you get it out of the bowl. We're going to stir it up really good in the bowl first, get everything incorporated, the egg, the seasonings, the Parmesan, and the almond flour. I know it looks really ucky. It doesn't look like it's ever going to be anything other than a big blob, but I promise this is going to be more than just a big blob. So I'm at that point now. If I had a stand mixer I was using, I would just let it continue to knead, but I'm not going to bring a stand mixer in because mine is really big and really loud. So I'm going to spare you that noise. I'm going to go ahead and wipe down the spoon because there's a bunch of stuff getting stuck on the spoon. Put it back in the bowl. Do one more rough beat by hand with the spoon. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead, bring my pan over. So this is the pan I'll be using to bake the pizza on. And in this pan I've got 2 sheets of parchment paper. I buy on Amazon because it's too expensive in the store to use as much as I go through. It's pre-cut and it fits perfectly in the half-sheet baking pans that I use. Also purchased on Amazon. You can buy them in 2 packs for like 20 bucks. So I've got my parchment paper here on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and spray it really well with my olive oil. Okay. I'm going to drop my dough right into the middle of it. You can see it's just a big blob. Move that over there. I'm going to take off my rings. One of the things that they don't tell you in cooking school is to make sure you take your rings off before you play with dough. I'm going to go wet my hands real fast. Alright, my hands are good and wet. Having the extra water from my hands is not going to impact the dough. Okay? And I'm just going to go ahead while it's in this parchment paper. I'm going to stick the paper down with some oil on the pan. While it's in this parchment paper, I'm just going to knead it a little more with the olive oil to make sure all of the ingredients are incorporated. And again, my hands are good and wet, plus I've oiled them up with the olive oil. And you saw how much I sprayed. I didn't spray in a lot. You can see this dough is coming together really, really nicely. Now, this little ball of dough, I'm starting to stick, so I need to go wet them up again. Sorry. It'd be easier if I just kept a bowl and dunked them in, but this little ball of dough is going to create 2 dishes. I'm going to go ahead and cut what I think I need for the sweet roll I'm going to make. And I'm only going to make one. I probably pulled out too many blueberries for that. So this is going to make my pizza. You can shape it however you want. This one I'm going to go ahead and make as round as I can. I'm just going to push it down with my hands. So using fathead dough is a 2 baking process. Got to oil my hands up. So we're going to par bake this crust in the oven. Let me wet my hands again. Alright, we're going to par bake this crust in the oven till it's golden. Not brown, but golden. There's a difference. And this is going to make one personal pan pizza. Yes, it's a lot of calories because almond flour and all that cheese. But if you're on no to low carb, then this is going to be in your diet plan. And this is, like I said, I've made this pizza. I filled this whole sheet pan with pizza before and made it for friends, and they actually like it better than restaurant pizza, and they aren't low carbers. So this is a really good dough. It does hold up, unlike cauliflower pizza dough. It cooks like a real dough. It actually reminds me of Lido pizza. So what I'm doing now is just putting an indent around the edges. Alright, so I'm going to take this dough out. And I'm going to set it in that pan right there. I'm now going to poke this dough just a few places. And we'll poke it again when it comes out of the oven, but I'm going to go ahead and set this in the oven, 375, and we'll keep an eye on it until it turns golden brown. I'm going to say, Alexa, set a timer for 12 minutes.
12 minutes, starting now.
Okay, so Alexa's got our timer going. So while that's in the oven, I'm going to go ahead and clean up some of this real quick. I'm going to move this into the sink. And I'm going to put these over on the counter where they belong. So I remember to put them away after this is done, so it's out of everybody's way. So my hands are clean and dry. I'm going to put my, wait, no, I'm going to put my rings back on yet. So now I've got this little pan right here. I need to make a piece of parchment paper for this cinnamon roll that I'm going to make. Okay, I'm going to fold my piece of parchment paper a multitude of ways to get, oops, sorry, almost did that wrong, to get a little bitty circle. So I also have parchment rounds, but they are, I think for 8 and 10 inch pans, and I'm not making an 8 or inch pan here. I'm only making a 4 inch, and I think I just made a 6 inch circle, which is going to work. Okay, I'll just set this over here. So now what I'm going to do is that little piece of dough I had left, oops, sorry, I dump out there. I'm going to be using this 4 inch springform pan, which will have a bottom that comes out. I'm also going to bake this on the pan with the pizza, so if it drips, it will, wetting my hands, sorry, it will drip directly onto the pizza pan and not into my oven. Okay, so I have made full pans of this before, but I'm not going to eat a full pan, and I don't have anyone coming over till Friday or Saturday. So if I have these in the fridge, if there's too many of them, I will eat all of them. So my goal is just to make one. Wash hands. Okay, so my dough for this is spread out, flat. Doesn't have to be pretty or perfect. What I'm going to add to this is some Truvia brown sugar blend. It's a new container, so I have to open it. Usually I have these in a bowl, and when I have them in the bowl, I keep the label. I cut the name and put it in the bowl that I'm storing it in, so I remember what it is. So I'm going to put a little bit of this. I'm not putting a lot. Regular soup spoon. Again, this is the equivalent of regular brown sugar, but it's a low carb version for those of us that are low carb dieters. And I mean, I do intermittent fasting, so I'm going to go ahead and add one more spoonful. I do intermittent fasting, but I'm also trying to, when possible, do as low carb as possible. All right, so the Truvia is on. We are not part baking this dough because it's going to bake just like a cinnamon roll. Okay, there's the Truvia. Move it to the side. You can see I go through a lot of cinnamon. I have a higher quality cinnamon that I use on dishes that require it, but this is for me. It's a cinnamon roll. So I'm going to sprinkle, and this is something that you do to your taste. I like a lot of cinnamon. So I cover it to where it's completely brown. Then what I have, again, a reminder that frozen goods are excellent use. I'm going to add blueberries that are frozen. Oops. Right to the roll. I'm just going to use my hand, excuse me. I think I pulled out too many blueberries for this. So I'll just put these on the back counter and eat them as they thaw out, because frozen blueberries are like little candy buns. Okay. My hands are now blue. They rinse. Alright. So they're on the back counter. Like I said, this will go into the oven. So I clean up after myself to have it. This will go into the oven. I have a mat down here that I clean after, so don't worry about spots on the floor. This will go into the oven when the pizza is cooking. So let's go ahead and roll this up like you would a cinnamon roll. Okay. Remember, this dough is kind of sticky because it is made with cheese and Parmesan cheese, and so it's just a matter of forcing it in. All right. So I truthfully probably have 2 cinnamon rolls here. Let me see if I've got a serrated edge knife in this drawer. I do. I'm going to go ahead and cut this into 2. All right. All right, it's now, it's going to be 2 rolls, which means I'm eating 2 rolls tonight. Let me put this in the sink. I'm going to move these off the parchment paper because I want this parchment paper in the pan. Yep, I lost the blueberry. Okay. Everybody stick. All right. There's a little extra brown sugar in here, so I'm going to dump this in the sink. Okay. I'm going to move my parchment paper, stick it in my springform pan. I pick up my first roll, stick it in there. Oops. Put that blueberry back in. Being stubborn. And my second roll, stick it in there. That is ready to go in the oven when the pizza crust comes out. Which, you rinse this. We're going to check now. Sorry, yeah, I like to clean up after myself as much as possible. Again, habit, good habit. Let me see if I can scraper. So I have a bench scraper. This is just a plastic one. I also have a metal one when I'm working with bread dough. This just helps me clean up all the little bits. Get them in the sink because I really don't want brown sugar on my pizza. We're going to look at our pizza dough. Caramelizing nicely. Go ahead and wipe this down. All right. Oh, so what do we have left? We have olive oil. We have our meats that we're going to put on our pizza. So let's go ahead and get those ready because the pizza crust is almost ready. Putting my rings back on. So I've got the Munster cheese that I got at the deli. And I have 3 slices. That's going to be perfect. I need to do a trash bowl. I really do. I've got ham that I picked up at the deli this morning because I was going to use it later in the weekend to make some breakfast sandwiches and some omelets for next week. And I posted the recipe for the omelets and some photos of the omelets on the Facebook page. It should be below this. And I'm just going to dice this up. So it's not big chunks of ham. And I use shaved ham, so it's very fine. Alright, so I've got my ham ready. And then I got my pepperoni. I like margarita brand pepperoni. I like the old world style that they sell, if you can find it. That's the pepperoni that curls up like a little bowl and fills up with the pepperoni fat. It's excellent. What I'm using today, sorry, is it already open? It's just their regular brand margarita pizza. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And if you're worried about 14, 15 calories, I think on this one, 6 slices, oh, it's 130 calories. So I'm going to go for 18. Again, this is not a calorie conscious meal. This is a low carb conscious meal. And those are 2 completely different beasts. Because low carb does not require you to count calories. I think that you should probably still pay attention to them when you're on low carb, but that's your own personal preference. So with that, I've got all of the meats ready and the cheese ready. I'm going to put it on a plate so I get it out of the way. Oops. All right, so I'm going to put my pan down here and let you see me putting the whole thing together. So those will go right there. The cheese will go on top because that's where the cheese will go on the pizza. There's different ways of doing it. I don't add more mozzarella because the crust is made out of mozzarella, so I add other cheeses. It's now time to poke down the crust. So I'm going to pull out a fork. Let you see what this looks like. It's starting to turn golden brown. So what I do now is just poke it to stop air bubbles from forming. And I'm going to put it back in the oven. Alright, so while that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and shut down until it's ready to come out of the oven and be dressed, and then we'll finish it off. Cleaning while we took our break waiting for this to bake enough to top. I'm going to pull it out. Alright, you can see, hopefully, that it has started to almost look like a saltine cracker. It's got a little golden brown on top. It's ready to be topped and baked. So this is going to be another, we're going to take a break after this to cover getting it baked, and I'll bring it out after it's completely baked. So I'm adding my sauce. I don't know about you guys, but I like a lot of sauce. And oh, by the way, this is a no sugar marinara. So I know a lot of the recipes online call for adding sugar because of the acid in the tomatoes and the onions and the basil and everything else you put in it. I don't like to add sugar to my sauces. My Italian uncle told us when we were kids, use carrots. So what we do is, or what I do, is I make my pot of sauce, I add 2 whole carrots, and I let it cook the entire time with the carrots. It does get sweet from that, it gets sugar from the carrots, but it's not table sugar, it's natural sugar. So I remembered that I have the Asiago and the Gouda, so I'm going to actually grate some of that up right on top. Again, I'm adding different flavors and it's different cheeses. So I'm not adding more mozzarella because the crust is solid mozzarella, basically. So I'm going to add a little bit of this one. This is the H Gouda that I have. I'm just using a regular hand grater. This is the Assaggio that we used the other day in the Alfredo. I'm going to add this. This will give it a nice, strong Parmesan-y flavor. Even though we added that powdered Parmesan in the crust, you're really not going to taste it in the crust. It's amazing that the crust comes away tasting like bread and not cheese. Okay, so I've sprinkled that all over the top. Alright, I'm going to put my grater back in the sink now. So I've got Asiago or Assaggio and Gouda. This is my Munster. I'm just going to lay it on top, and I was right, 3 slices is perfect for this pizza. I might have too much meat, so I'm going to sprinkle ham. You could use any toppings that you like. Sausage, breakfast sausage, Italian sausage, chorizo, mushrooms, vegetables, any topping that you like. Today I feel like a ham and pepperoni pizza. I could even add pineapple if I wanted to, and don't scream about pineapple because that's not low carb. But again, I'm not doing low carb. I'm going to add my pepperoni. This is a thicker slice, so it's not required that I use all of them. I estimated based on the size of the pizza. I cover the entire top because when the pepperoni cooks, it'll get smaller. So you'll see the top when I'm done. And 1 per cook. Okay. So our pizza is ready to go back in the oven. I'm going to spray a little olive oil on the outside crust. Put that back here. Remember our cinnamon roll? Or our blueberry cinnamon roll? I'm going to sit it right there. I'm going to throw this back in the oven to bake. It'll be done when the pepperoni is cooked and the crust is brown. Now, For this one, I will also, the pizza will be done before the cinnamon roll. So I will take the cinnamon roll off the tray. I'll turn on the broiler to crisp up the pepperoni for a few minutes. And then I'll take the pizza off the tray and put the cinnamon roll back in until it's done. All right. Pizza's in. Alexa, set an alarm for 15 minutes.
15 minutes, starting now.
All right, so I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to take a break, take a drink out of my actual Dixie cup. You guys can see that. That's my Dixie cup. It's got Dixie's photos. It was given to me by a friend, and I use it all the time. So, all right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in 15. Okay, so I just pulled the pizza out of the oven and moved it up to the broiler to get it crispy on the top. We'll give it a minute or two. Oldest trick in the book for most bakers, and we know this, is if you smell something, it's done. So it actually finished about 2 minutes before the timer that I set. So I just quickly moved it up to the broiler to get it finished. And I put the cinnamon roll back in because it still has time to cook. So let's check this. But you got to be really careful when it's in the broiler. It'll burn fast, especially the crust. So it's just a couple seconds and we're pulling this out. You get to see what the fathead pizza looks like. And as soon as the cinnamon bun is done, I will pull it out and let you see what that looks like later. This pizza, some would consider it a personal pan pizza size, but since there is so much protein in this pizza, literally not even half the pizza will fill up most people because there is so much protein. So I will have pizza left for dinner tonight or for a snack tomorrow, or maybe even lunch tomorrow with a small salad. It reheats well. You can reheat it in the oven for about 5 or 10 minutes at 400. Or you can just stick it in the microwave. Like I said, this crust holds up. You can actually hold it like a slice of pizza when you eat it. When it comes out of the oven, of course, it's going to be way too hot for me to do that. So go ahead and turn the broiler off. Set the oven back for the cooking temperature for the cinnamon buns. Take this pizza out without killing myself. There we go. Cinnamon bun's still cooking. All right. I flip it so you can see. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's sizzling. So that's the fathead pizza that I made. All the oil is dripping off while I'm holding it this way. Not a bad thing. I'm going to let that cool for about 10 minutes before I try to eat it, because it is hot. It is really hot. So we're going to come back in a few minutes and hopefully the cinnamon buns will be done and I can show you those. Okay, so I pulled the pizza out, showed you that. I cut a slice, which I'm going to eat now, and I just pulled the blueberry cinnamon rolls out of the oven. They smell wonderful. I can't take them out of the springform pan yet because hot lava, but see if I can hold it up enough for you to be able to see. And oops, the blueberry is just dripping everywhere. So I will pull them out of the spring roll, and before I eat them, I will take a picture of them and put it to the post so that you can see what they look like. Typically when I make these, I make a whole big 8-inch springform pan, but since I was making a small pizza, I figured I would go ahead and just make 1 or 2 rolls, and that's what I did. So those are cooling, and the pizza, like I said, you can lift it up like normal pizza. It's really, really good and really, really filling. So I'm going to bring it over here. Hope you guys enjoy. Thanks. Bye. Okay, so I pulled the pizza out, showed you that. I cut a slice, which I'm going to eat now. And I just pulled the blueberry cinnamon rolls out of the oven. They smell wonderful. I can't take them out of the springform pan yet because hot lava, but see if I can hold it up enough for you to be able to see. And oops, the blueberry is just dripping everywhere. So I'll pull them out of the spring roll, and before I eat them, I will take a picture of them and put it to the post so that you can see what they look like. Typically when I make these, I make a whole big 8-inch springform pan, but since I was making a small pizza, I figured I would go ahead and just make 1 or 2 rolls, and that's what I did. So those are cooling, and the pizza, like I said, you can lift it up like normal pizza. It's really, really good and really, really filling. So I'm going to bring it over here. Hope you guys enjoy. Thanks. Bye.